Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Film Seizure and the start of Trekation II, the next generation.
The wrath of
Ken.
I like it.
With me, as always, are my co-host Jason Oliver,
Me,
and Chuck Moore.
Doe.
And joining us for the first time since the Trekation, the original series, Ken Shuttleworth. Ken, how's it going?
Ken.
Ken! Yeah. Oh, I wish we were watching Wrath of Khan, but no, we are. So last year, Trekation, we did the 5 sequels to the original cast, Treks 2 through 6.
yes,
And because Jason and I had done previously the
motion picture.
So we decided to, I decided and said we're doing this.
That's true.
July.
Jeff used his dictatorial. How do I say that word?
Dictatorial?
Dictatorial powers. Yes.
I'd like to call it Captain's Prerogative.
I like pierogies.
Prima nocte.
Yeah. Prima nocte? Well, that's a bummer for you three guys then. Because that means something else. And I'm going to exercise those rights. Just decided it's like, hey, July this time is 4 weeks. Last July we did Trekation. Let's do the next generation. And here we are. And we have to start with a bummer.
We even considered, I think, skipping this one, didn't we?
Nope.
At one point, just kind of.
Nope.
I did at least.
Everyone but Jeff considered.
I thought
skipping
it maybe just showing up late today.
I mean, I wouldn't have been
You
mad.
did.
I did show up late,
Yeah.
but really late.
He was in the Nexus, and then he decided to join us.
Yeah.
You're right. So
Yes. Oh, the Nexus.
I didn't even know what I was in for in this one. Now that we've watched it, I realized I'd not seen it.
yeah. And aren't you glad
Yeah.
that you hadn't seen it?
Yes.
All right, so this is 1994's, November or December 1994,
November, yeah.
November, Star Trek Generations. Now, mind you, the Next Generation had just ended 6 months before this. So it's not like we were clamoring to see them again, necessarily. I mean, it was a good show, right? Like, it's the best that Trek can be. Except you just pumped out a movie like right away. You better be good, because if it isn't, you're not off to a great start.
And they are not off to a great start.
Nope.
Oh, my. Yes.
So, now specifically I wanted to bring Ken back for this, because Ken, Next Generation is your generation, right?
Yes.
Somebody
I've got
install,
lots to say about it.
yeah,
Yep.
somebody install Ken's motion chip.
I'm still trying to get over this piece of shit that we just watched.
Oh, man.
All right, so
I gotta say, when this movie came out in theaters, I was fucking stoked.
I was too.
I was 15. I loved Star Trek. We've talked about that. I loved The Next Generation. I was like, holy shit, I get Picard and Kirk in the same movie. This is going to be amazing. Oh, and then I saw it.
Yeah, so
So you didn't like it at the time?
No, did not.
Okay.
I think it was one of those things where it's like the first time seeing it, it was like you wanted to like it. It was kind of
like when I saw Phantom Menace.
exactly.
Yep.
That was exactly what I was going to say. Except for this is maybe arguably better than Phantom Menace.
I don't know.
Shit, man, I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know.
We'll table that discussion because we're not talking about Star Wars. We're talking about Star Trek. So like, Ken, did you see it like right away when it came out?
Yeah, I saw it, I think, pretty much in the theater as soon as it came out. And yeah, I was with Jason. I was like really excited because obviously the show had just ended. And I thought it ended pretty well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was happy that there was going to be a movie coming out that quickly, and with Picard and Kirk, I was like, this is going to be like game on. And I quickly found out like about 10, 15 minutes into the movie, this was not going to be that exciting.
Yeah, that's a good, you bring up a good point there about 10, 15 minutes in, because yeah, that's one thing. I was making mental notes while I was in the shower this morning. Before it's like, okay, these are things I want to talk about, but yeah, I'll get to that when we get into the movie.
It feels right out of the gate like Star Trek Light.
Yes,
It's weird. It's just this is a weird tone. Not having all of the original cast back makes it feel generic and cheap.
well, yeah, because I think that this was written by the people who wrote the series, the Next Generation.
Yeah,
so
you can tell.
you can tell that they are very familiar with one crew and treat the others kind of like goofs.
Mm-hmm.
That whole opening scene on the Enterprise B is a smack in the face, as far as I was concerned. Actually, the whole movie is kind of a smack in the face, as far as I'm concerned.
How does that dude Cameron become the captain of the Enterprise?
See, that's bad writing because
Terrible.
Because okay, so Captain Harriman, who's the we're kind of diving in here, but Captain Harriman, who's seen at the beginning, he's the captain of the Enterprise B, so that's the Enterprise after Kirk's time,
Right.
And so he is given the flagship of the Federation, and it seems like he's an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And yet he did later get redeemed in a series of novels about that Enterprise.
Not
but
in this movie.
Later.
Okay.
No.
Don't care.
Yeah. So, so like there were some apocrypha that kind of, but the problem
I'm
is,
looking that word up
That's
real
a-
quick right now.
That's a $10 word right there.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. I got buy one get one free. So I'll see if I can pull out another one here in a little bit. But no,
And you helped me pronounce dictatorial.
there you go,
Yeah.
2 for 1 deal.
Yeah, you're doing well today.
Doing well. No, so like but the thing is, it's like it sets this tone that is, like you said, right out of the gate, it's wrong. Just right out of the gate, it's wrong. You have comedy, tragedy, and then the movie eventually starts. And it's like you're being kind of whipped back and forth.
It's like you're on the bridge when the
set
Enterprise
shakes.
is getting shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I'm pretty sure at one point when the Klingons were, or when they hit the Klingon ship to blow up the Klingon ship, I don't think they actually shook the set because you could see the side of the film frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Chuck?
I don't know. I don't know. I gave Ken my emotion chip.
Life forms. Oh, you
So-
little life forms.
I
So
was
I
just
don't-
agreeing it was bad.
No, it is
Yeah,
bad. It's bad. It's bad. This movie feels cheap too.
Yes.
It looks cheap and it feels cheap.
It made a lot of money, though.
Yes.
I mean, I think
Well, the Next Generation was
Next
popular.
Generation was popular. I honestly don't necessarily believe that the timing of the release of this movie was poor. They're riding kind of like the high of the series. We're bringing some of the original cast back, and it made $118 million. It was the biggest Star Trek movie since 4.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. When you adjust for inflation, 4 is the biggest.
Yeah.
And it had a budget of 35.
Yeah.
Which you could kind of tell.
Yeah.
It had a budget of 35 million.
Well, and also it's like they were cutting corners a little bit here too, because it's like, well, we mostly have the bridge. We can dress it up more for a movie. We can dim all the lighting. That was terrible.
But they were shooting at the same time as they were shooting the final series too, I think,
Yeah.
or it was in production. So it was like
Yeah,
in
it was-
co-production at the
But
same time.
to also usher in some of the new look that Deep Space Nine was, they had the Deep Space Nine uniforms, which were the black uniforms with the colored shoulders.
Yeah.
Well, if you notice that a lot of the Enterprise crew had poor fitting uniforms, it's because they just literally went to that trailer and lifted those uniforms. Riker's wearing a jumpsuit that does not fit him because his sleeves are up like in his like his elbow. It's terrible.
Oh man, that's bad.
Yeah, it's
He's not going to be lifting his leg behind a chair to sit down. In
no.
those
He's
things.
going to blow out Avery Brooks's uniform if he does that.
I wonder if you know this, Jeff. Do you know how much the cast was making by the end of the series and how much they made for the movie?
I don't know. I know that once you get into Nemesis, Spiner and Stewart made like $10 million each.
Wow.
And
Was Data that popular? I mean, Dada.
Dada.
Yeah, Data like while most people would say it's like, okay, well, you know, Patrick Stewart was the face of the show. Riker was the action of the show. Data, like Spock, was the thing that people glommed onto because it's like, oh, it's a peculiar, you know, there are lots of things you could do with that character, and they did none of them for this movie.
I'm not allowed to react. Jason will ask me what I'm doing. So I'm just staring at you.
Well,
I thought you were doing a bit. You just kept saying,
Yeah.
oh boy.
So that's the same emotion chip that he gets from Lore
Yes,
at the end of this of Descent, right?
I think so.
Does
Yeah.
he use it after that episode ever? Like, does he ever use the chip?
I don't think he did. Ken, do you remember if he ever used it in the series?
That I really don't remember. If he did, I think it was just that it was in there. He didn't like it or something like that.
Like he and Geordi have that conversation because the chip's like a little Pac-Man, looks like a little Pac-Man guy, and he's like, you know, they say, you know, I could use this, but I don't think I want to. And I thought that was it. And then they bring it back in this, and it looks like a terrible, like they just put a bunch of microchips and glued them together, probably with hot glue because that's all they had. Because this movie's cheap as fuck.
So, disclosure, when I was watching the episodes last night to prepare for the Borg for later,
Yes.
I was like, okay, this looks fairly decent, but the movie's got to look way better. Like, that was what was in my
Well,
head.
you got to also remember that's 30 years ago too.
Oh, I know. And even better at all.
Yeah.
It actually looks worse to me than the episodes from the show I watched last night.
This movie does not look good.
Yeah.
Because there are some things, like you can see where they put some money, like back when the movie came out, like there's the stellar cartography scene where like Picard and Data are trying to figure out where the bad stuff's going to happen. That looked pretty cool back then. It's a little dated today, except for the fact that there is a depth in the star chart, right? Like that's kind of cool but yeah, it's like that was like the big, the stellar cartography.
And the 3D pictures of his family were kind of cool.
Well, it's the 3D borders of the pictures of his family. Yeah. All right. So the movie starts with the christening of the
oh God, I forgot
NCC
about
1701B Enterprise. The whole credits just to get you real excited. Remember the credits for the Next Generation TV show and how like vibrant and like they're playing that Star Trek motion picture theme, and it's like it's happening. Well, this is just like some horns and a floating champagne bottle.
It feels like they're going for a 2001 Space Odyssey bone.
They
thing,
shouldn't.
but like a really bad version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Continue.
yeah. So you see this tumbling thing, and it smashes into the side of the Enterprise B. And Kirk,
no idea how or why that thing was just floating. But
I'm telling you, someone threw it from Earth.
well, that's what's funny is because there actually is a scene before this that was cut of Kirk skydiving from orbit. And Scotty and Chekhov are like there to collect him for this thing.
He's skydiving from orbit?
Yes,
That would be awesome.
and they're all sitting there talking, kind of like at the beginning of Star Trek V when like McCoy is like, "You're gonna get yourself killed,"
Right.
You know, all of that. Well, it's the exact same thing except for Scotty and Chekhov are watching it and they're like, I can't believe he still does these types of things, setting up the whole idea that Kirk is missing out on adventure.
Right.
To get the adventure back that he no longer has from retiring, he has to jump from a fucking spaceship onto into Earth and like land on a little tiny dot. And that's what he's doing with his retirement because he's missing out. And then they say, okay, well, we're late for the thing. And they go to the Enterprise B. But no, a flying champagne bottle is way fucking better than that. I hate this movie, guys.
Starting with the opening tone of the movie, that would have changed it dramatically.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a lot of Kirk's lines later are about missing out on action or missing out on things he wish he'd done differently.
Or making a difference.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, they're off to see the launch of the Enterprise B. Originally, it was supposed to be Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, but DeForest Kelley was in declining health and also thought the movie sucked. And Leonard Nimoy was, this movie really sucks. I don't want to be in it. And they were hastily recast as Scotty and Chekhov, which is real obvious because at one point Scotty says something to Kirk that sounds like something that Spock would impart to Kirk, talking about like, you know, when you find time to make a family. And they're like, that's wisdom, right? That's not what Scotty is there for. Scotty's there for telling you what the ship can and can't do.
There's some missed opportunities there too, because Scotty knows the Next Generation cast, right? Because it wasn't there an episode where
Relics,
right?
Yeah.
And then and Spock knows the Next Generation cast, so if they
Reunification
could have written something a little meatier for Spock, probably to get him back, could have been cool. Because there's definitely some overlap there that they could have played on,
right?
And you could have had Spock and somehow, you know, trying to explain everything that's happening. Like he could have been the bridge instead of the fucking literal bridge.
Literal bridge, yeah. Well, because like, by the way, the novelization of this, I think it's this, or no, it's the beginning of a book that Shatner wrote. Because Shatner also is like, this is a bummer.
Was it a Tech World novel?
No, it was called The Return. And Spock goes to visit Kirk's ramshackle grave, and the Borg beam Kirk's body up and like basically use him to try to... Anyway, it's a big flex for Kirk because he fights back and he ends up becoming the hero again.
So spoiler, Kirk dies twice in this movie. Kind of. And
although technically he could die infinite number of times.
But was there any kind of novelization after that brings him back, or is this really okay?
No, those Shatner books.
He brought himself
more
back.
Apocrypha.
Oh boy!
But no, I mean, he brought himself back, but it was all like it's considered like legit like beta canon.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk does eventually retire later, gets married, all of that stuff, but he's just chilling on some planet in the 24th century now after having like a run on a ship or something. Yeah. Anyway. God,
so when he comes back to life, he comes back to the 24th century.
Yeah, because he gets turned into a Borg, and then he helps Picard save.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Kirk gets turned into a Borg?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is amazing.
Yeah, check it out.
I want to see that movie.
Yeah, I do too. I'd rather see that movie than this one.
Yeah.
For sure.
So Kirk, Chekhov, Scotty are on the Enterprise B. They are leaving space dock. Bad stuff happens. Of course, they're the only ship in the quadrant, which is dumb. This is the center of Starfleet, or of the Federation rather. There better be Starfleet all over the place in this, but no, it isn't. They go, they rescue some people, including Guinan and our main bad guy, Roddy McDowell.
Yep.
Totally Sauron. Dr. Totally Sauron, I think I said his name was.
Tolian Sauron.
Whatever.
He's totally sorry for everything that he's doing. Yeah.
Totally sorry for being in this movie.
Everybody.
So but they get trapped in this energy beam, or that's like sucking them in, or it's going to blow them up. I don't know. Anyway, so Kirk goes off to have his moment. He thinks about just taking over the Enterprise B, which he doesn't. He's like, no, that's your job, young man. I'm going to go and do this thing and save the ship. And then the ribbon reacts to it and blows up part of the ship that he's in. And And then we go to the HMS Enterprise out to sea.
Oh my god.
So, all right. So hold on a second. We've got a scene after Saruman
Saruman.
gets beamed onto the Enterprise, and he starts talking about wanting to go back.
Yeah.
So
you have to let me go back. You have to-
So what was happening there? Was he already in the Nexus? How did they get him out of the Nexus?
I don't
why was Gonzo there?
know. So yeah, and Pepe the shrimp was there too.
I mean, Gunan.
Guinan.
Yeah.
No, she. So I don't. Yeah, this is already off to a bad start because you can't approach the Nexus or a ship will explode. How did they come out of the Nexus?
Right.
Or how did any of these people? Because
How
we
are they
do find
beamed
out.
out of the Nexus?
Yeah,
Doesn't
exactly.
make any sense. And it feels like something that's going to come back into play in a more meaningful way later. Like you're going to understand more about our villain and where he was chilling
And this
or
is-
how. But nope.
And this is how
Nope.
Guinan is that actually
Guinan.
correct, right?
Guinan.
Is introduced to the Enterprise universe, right? This is when she
Pretty
shows up
much
for the
because
first time.
yeah, because
But there's
like
nothing made of it.
the ships. Okay, so here's some lore here from TNG. So Guinan and Totally Sorry are both Elorians, and they were a race of beings that got attacked by the Borg and mostly assimilated,
Right.
except some got away, and I'm guessing it's on these ships.
And they lived for a really long time.
Yeah, they live for like Guinan's like what 300 years old or something like that. Yeah. So so like this was part of this evacuation, I think. And then they got sucked up into the Nexus, then got barfed out right next to the Enterprise B.
Okay.
No, it's not. It's not okay. No, it's not okay
It makes no damn sense. But,
right. I mean, at the
but
beginning,
that's what happened.
yeah, it's like at the beginning of the movie, it's like, okay, this is weird. We don't know what's going on here. We only find out later that you can't just fly yourself into the Nexus. So that's when you start to question what you saw in this movie, and you start questioning if if it's real, if any of this shit is real.
This real.
Yeah, is this reality or is this fake? So, all right. So, right. But that's a good point because, like, he is rambling on like a crazy person to the point where Dr. Chekhov has to give him a little sedative in the sick bay because
Because Chekhov is a doctor now.
all of a sudden it recruits journalists to become nurses. Yeah.
Damn journalists.
Yeah, that's fucking journalists.
But at the same time, right, Picard gets bad news about something we don't know.
Oh God! But they're on that fucking tall ship on the holodeck, and I hate it so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, the HMS Enterprise. All to do what?
To promote Worf.
Yep.
And it's some stupid tradition apparently because
That's bullshit because I've never seen this before.
No.
Geordi,
Heard of it?
yeah, Geordi got promoted at some point during the Next Generation. He didn't have to jump for no fucking hat over the high seas.
Data did not have to.
No.
Data.
Counselor Troy got promoted during the series. She didn't have to go do. She probably wouldn't have done it very well.
So they're just making shit up at this point.
Just hey, we've got a boat and we've got access to the ocean.
All to introduce a reason to make Data feel like he has to have the emotion chip.
Yeah.
Which 7 years of TV didn't do enough for that.
Right. He had
was
to
doing
realize
just
he
fine
didn't
without
know what
it.
fun
Well,
was.
right.
all of a sudden.
He's still questioning what fun is. It's like you at least
This feels like a first
you
season
at least
episode.
can recognize
Yes.
it when you fucking see it.
That's why I
at this
thought-
point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like the way they're acting, this all should have taken place before what happens in Generations, the
Yeah.
show, the Next Generation.
Right.
But,
yeah.
you
The
told
problem
me
is
it's after. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
I know it's weird.
that make no sense.
That don't make no sense.
Yeah, because see, that's another thing. It's like they could have very easily have done that, except for they wrote themselves into the corner with the beginning of the show, with the cast not all being together. They were all drawn together, or like the Enterprise had literally just left and has to go pick up Riker. So it's like, yeah, that wouldn't have made, it makes
But
no sense.
it feels like the kind of writing where you're a little too overly cautious about what the uninitiated understands about a character. Right?
I got news for you.
And you really just don't need to write for those people when you're working with 7 seasons of a television show.
Well, or because I would say each of the subsequent movies do better with that exact concept. The problem is that this is a television screenplay, not a movie screenplay. And it should have been rejected on both sides.
There were
Right.
a lot of scripts, I guess, for this movie.
Hey,
And this
no
was
shit.
the one that
This
got
is the
picked.
one that
Makes you wonder about the other ones, right?
There's probably a really good one out there.
Probably.
that
there's
was
probably
rejected.
too expensive.
Yeah, probably.
Because that's one thing it should be noted, that Paramount never really wanted to spend a whole lot of money on these movies.
Well, to Jason's point too, like if you hadn't watched a single episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, you're most likely not going to have any interest in going to see a Next Generation movie.
Right.
So why would you write it to dumb down for audience?
That's a good point. Yeah, so that brings up another point here about how these characters and the story and everything kind of plays itself out, because it is somewhat peculiar. Like, for example, because we're in a fandom, or in various fandoms, right? We oftentimes like get ourselves into like that echo chamber, right? Where it's like, oh, well, of course, take, for example, Star Wars. They make so much money. Obviously, that means so many people see it. It's not really the case. Like, for example, to this day, my mom still doesn't understand when Rogue One or Solo are supposed to take place. Like, she doesn't get. It's like she will go and she will, like, she sees a recognizable thing. Like, oh, Carrie Fisher's older. This means it comes after Return of the Jedi. She doesn't know anything else about the extra side stuff, right? So it's like, even though she's seen all these movies, she saw all those movies at least, it doesn't mean anything to her. Whereas like somebody who's a Star Wars fan, it does. Meanwhile, you've got the exact same thing going on with Star Trek. It's like, okay, yeah, Next Generation was what everybody knew because it was what was on TV every Monday night and Saturday night or whatever, right? But it was, I mean, most everybody, like, they almost had to put Captain Kirk in this movie to try to draw anything outside of the 7-season fans,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Well, absolutely.
Like, because
and it's a bait and switch.
right, because because older people who watch the other Star Trek movies, because those were really, really well done for outside audiences, they see Star Trek's got a new movie. It's like, oh, I can't wait to see Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock, or
Right.
whatever.
That's like my dad. My dad didn't give a shit about Next Generation, but he was like, yeah, we're going to go see this movie because Kirk's in it.
Yeah,
Because Kirk was his guy.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, and I remember going to see it for the first time thinking, oh, yeah, Kirk's going to be in it. And in the 2 hours of this movie, you get to see Kirk for a total of about 25 minutes,
Right.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
yeah. My dad
which was
wasn't happy.
really disappointing.
Well, and what he's doing is, like, a lot of what he's doing is Kirk, but he feels so shoehorned in.
Mm-hmm.
Like the only reason why Picard picks the exact time to re-enter the time stream, which, by the way, just saying that sentence is dumb. But the time that he picks to go back to stop Soren it had to be that time frame so that Kirk could do something.
Yeah, it's so stupid. In reality, he should have just gone back to his ship when they had him as a captive.
Yeah.
Right? He's already on their ship. Just say, okay, you're under arrest. Sorry, we screwed up your plans.
Yeah.
Everybody lives. No more movie.
But yeah, it's like, just go back to that space station, come back into the time stream and say, hey, that guy's a bad guy.
Right. When he was talking to him and he said, so I don't get this, and this is what happens next in the movie. Sauron says something to Picard about time is the enemy and the fire in which you burn, or something.
Time is a predator. It's the fire in which we all burn.
Right. So he says that to him, and Picard gets this look on his face like, I understand this. I've heard this somewhere in the past. It makes sense to me. I need to help this guy. But in reality, none of that is true.
No, all
so what
he's
is
thinking,
that whole?
So what that does is that sets up the very next time you see Picard, which is looking at his futuristic photo album.
I guess so.
Because he reveals to Troy at that time. It's like, oh, the Picard timeline is not going forward.
Right.
It's like it ends with me now because it's like I never worried about having kids because my brother had one. And so that's the line that triggers him to have his emotional breakdown.
Did you think, like I did, that Soren was doing some kind of weird mind control with him in that moment? I kind of felt that.
I felt like it triggered a memory or something that Picard had heard in the past. Like maybe not mind control, but definitely something that triggered not the emotional response that it actually did, but something like important from his past.
Yeah, it felt
like I've heard this before. Somebody said this line to me.
It felt like a real manipulation.
Yeah,
but it wasn't. It was just persuasive, and it's what he
especially
just so happened
with the look on his face as he's talking to him. Because he's got his eyes like he's just
Right.
staring right at him, saying it. And
Yeah,
well,
so
that's Malcolm
the
McDowell.
whole thing feels weird.
He bludgeons him with a giant
Then obviously,
ceramic dick.
it just happens to be the thing that he responds to because he's grieving. But
it seemed weightier than that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
So okay, let's break down some of the themes that are in this movie. You've got growing old and becoming less useful, which both to a certain extent Picard talks about when he's blubbering to Troy like a real pansy.
And we've gone down that thematic path in the movies before. So it already is feeling a little tired. It's like, really, are we going to have this like old captain syndrome again?
Well, and see, that's the thing. It's like when it's 6 months after the show ended, it's like this needed to be more exciting than this.
Yeah.
Like you can have Star Trek the motion picture kind of move along at a crawling pace because it was 10 years since anybody had seen anything. They're just looking for anything Star Trek at that point. This needed to be First Contact.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
and you could have had Kirk in it as a Borg. It would have been great.
Ooh, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, indeed. So
other themes, emotion.
Imagine that.
Dealing
Imagine
with
that,
your
though.
emotion.
They go into the Borg ship, at First Contact, and there's fucking Kirk, and he's a Borg. That would be amazing.
Would his name be Lokirkus?
his name would be Cockirk, just
Cockirkus. Okay,
Cockirkus.
yeah.
Man, that would have been like.
And he's made the Borg Queen his bitch.
Yeah.
That would have made your dad really mad, though. Your dad would have been more pissed.
Probably.
If Kirk was
a Borg,
that
showed up.
Yeah.
He probably would have been, but that would have been pretty.
Yeah.
So okay, so you got emotion. So you got age, emotion. You've got desperation and obsession.
Right.
These are all things that 10 years of the original series and the Next Generation had done multiple times every year, sometimes consecutive episodes.
Right, and they're so ham-fisted into it. It's like, I don't know, maybe that's a Star Trek thing. You don't have to tell me what your theme is.
No.
And they tell you over and over and over again in this movie what the themes are, as if I didn't understand it. It almost treats me like a dummy.
Right. It's like, this brings up a good point. A couple weekends ago on MeTV, the original series episode Obsession was on. And it was about a thing that, and it's called Obsession. So you already know basically what it's about. And basically what it then details is about the only time that you actually saw Kirk kind of go nuts. Because when he was a young lieutenant on a different ship, something happened that caused the death of some people on his ship, and he never let it go that he failed, basically. And so when he encounters that thing again as the captain of the Enterprise, he puts the entire ship at risk. And it's like it's the title is there, and I'm sure at some point McCoy or Spock talked about obsession or that he's obsessed. It's like, yeah, but okay, it's a macro concept that's put in your face, but the micro is what makes that episode really, really good. It's like
Kind of like Wrath of Khan. Which
Exactly.
is about obsession and yeah.
yeah, and Khan is not shy about saying that he's obsessed with Kirk.
Right.
He doesn't just say it like that.
I'm obsessed with this man. They show the book Moby Dick,
Yeah,
which
there you
is
go.
enough
Boom.
for you.
There it is.
No, yes, Kirk's the white whale. We know what's happening here.
Yep. Yes. So, yeah, and but then it's the other parts of like Kirk dealing with the no-win scenario. That's where Wrath of Khan is like. That's where the dagger is twisted. And
Right.
it's like, this is the best the Trek can ever be, within the movie sphere at least. So, and so you're right. These are all kind of ham-fisted. It's almost like I feel like the television writing room wrote down all of these concepts on the whiteboard, and then they were like, okay, well, we've got our movie. We don't have a plot. Okay, well, just, I don't know, a fucking ribbon in space and shit.
There is no plot.
There really isn't much of a plot.
Yeah.
It's dealing with those kind of themes that this movie kind of exists in. Things happen, like Worf gets dunked in the water because Riker's a dum-dum apparently and doesn't
It's retract, not remove.
he knows
or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, so okay, they're on this boat, right? They're on this whole
We are
tiny
still in
boat.
the beginning of this
Yeah,
movie.
I
We
know.
need to
I know, we're-
go to the Nexus and jump out at the end of this movie soon. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we need to jump out of this episode. So yeah, like they're on this old timey boat, right? And they're there to promote Worf to lieutenant commander, and Data has to figure out that he needs emotions to be a character. So, but like Riker knows all of the weird terms, like Stunsel, I
Yeah.
think was one of the words. And it's like, but he doesn't understand that you say retract the plank that Worf was on instead of remove plank, because the computer is literal. This movie literally sucks.
Yeah.
But he did that on purpose.
Did he?
Yes.
No.
He wanted to dunk Worf.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
Nobody dunks Worf.
Although Worf's best friend is Riker.
Riker does.
Yeah.
Riker dunks Worf. I got the impression that no, he did that on purpose because nobody has ever gotten the hat before, and he wanted
Maybe.
to
And
make
Riker's
sure.
like throwing around his big dick energy.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can tell the computer. Although Worf could have said, computer,
Remove water.
well, then he would land on the,
And what? On the floor of the holodeck?
but from like, I don't know.
20,000 leagues out of the floor.
I don't know holodeck physics.
Let's move
very well.
past this terrible scene.
All right. So,
God, we're still on the tall ship. Jesus Christ.
so then, that's when Picard gets some bad news. He takes off, and then more bad news comes in the form of a distress signal from a star or from a space station. And they go and they find Soren. And that's when Soren's like, well, I've got only 12 hours before, it's like, you need to finish your investigation on who attacked us so I can go do my thing. Or in 12 hours, it's bad news or whatever.
And what was the thing that he had to do in 12 hours? It was
He had to meet up with the Klingons to go to Viridian 3.
He had to give them the trilithium
So that-
weapons stuff. Which
so
was
that they
why
could-
did he need them?
Because
Were they just a ride?
they were a ride, and they offered him the missile to blow up the star.
Okay. I don't know about all that.
I don't know
Just
about
go
all
with it.
that
Just
either.
go with it.
Yeah.
I
Well,
say we
at
just
this,
go.
At this point, he needed to go within the 12 hours because he was going to blow up that star, which was going to shift the gravity
Right.
so that the ribbon would traject the way that he wanted to.
Right. And doesn't the ribbon come every 17 years like Brood X or
It's like
something?
Haley's Comet.
Yeah.
So why has he missed it so many times? Why is it now
Well,
90
'cause
years later?
I think he said he tried to figure it out how to do it multiple times, and
he couldn't
know.
get it.
All
and
right,
then
yeah.
Trilithium gave.
Well, I might be
Try
wrong,
to
but
look
I
at
think
what he
it's at one point, like, it might have been Data when they were in the
Data.
when they were in the cartography area. At some point, I thought someone had said that it came around every 42 years, and then Soren later is like, "I've been waiting 18 years for this." It's like,
And then his butt fell off.
He's a buttless cicada.
The Brood X joke.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
This movie would have been better if the bad guys were buttless cicadas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Chuck would have liked him more.
Yeah, a bunch of LSD crazed bugs without butts partying. A bunch of
Partying with the Borgs.
Party Borgs.
Party Borgs. Oh, that's later. That's
Yeah.
later this year.
Sorry.
So anyway, and this brings back a recurring set of characters from the Next Generation, the Duras sisters, which again, it's like now you're not writing for. It's like, who are these people? Why are they so familiar? Why are, it's like, what's their deal? So like, Jason, it kind of goes against your whole thing, saying that they're being careful about how they're writing things, but yet this is deep Next Generation type of stuff that ties directly to a story that was a long running story with Worf.
Mm-hmm.
And like the whole House of Duras and Worf's family, and oh my God, it's like that's dense, and it's like that.
But they don't tie it to Worf at all in this movie.
They don't tie it to Worf at all. They don't. They don't even say, "Oh, it's the Duras sisters again." Those darn titty window chicks.
Those
Titty window.
Durases.
Yeah, they don't do any of that. So it's like, then why are they even there? Other than they must have been around, and it's like, hey, you can be in our movie because we don't know what we're doing. Maybe you guys have some suggestions, and they're like, just have the camera show our cleavage.
They just want to destroy the Enterprise. Why? Is there a reason they would want to destroy the Enterprise?
Oh,
We
it's
should
just
know?
like Star Trek V, which, by the way, when you compare this movie to Star Trek V, and Star Trek V wins, that's bad for this movie.
Yeah, I was going to say the Klingons are there again to help the original cast fans because Klingons are something that they recognize.
And they're
Those are
bad guys, but they're not bad guys in the Next Generation.
Right.
There are some bad guys. The Durases were bad guys, but not the Klingons, so it's like...
and we can put a bird of prey blowing up in the trailer.
Hey, we got some stuff from Star Trek 6.
Yep.
Can we use it?
Exactly right.
Make it so.
Make it so.
save some money.
Yep. So, and also make this movie blow. So like the Durases are there, and it's like they are there they do want to blow up the Enterprise because the Enterprise is the white whale of the Klingons, apparently. Because in Star Trek V, they wanted to blow up the Enterprise.
They always
Star
wanna
Trek
blow up the
3
Enterprise.
didn't give a shit about the Enterprise. Like, there's not once did Christopher Lloyd say that's the Federation flagship. He didn't care. It was just a Federation starship to blow up any of them.
Right.
So there's a weird. It's all too easy and dumb, and stupid.
So this movie does a lot of stuff and doesn't do a lot of stuff for about an hour in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't even remember it. It's like it just goes away from my brain.
Here, I'll tell you what happened. There's some people whispered some really important things, and you didn't get to hear any of them. So it's impossible to fucking know what happened in the middle of the movie.
That's exactly what happens.
That's exactly what happens. So so basically,
Now we're caught up.
most of the middle of the movie deals with the Data having emotions and not dealing with it very well because Geordi gets kidnapped by Soren and the Klingons, to which Soren then
turns his visor into a camera.
Right, but
Without
also
sound. Without sound.
without sound, right? But he also like it's almost as if Soren's like, I've seen the show Roots. Let's just get LeVar Burton shirtless and strapped to a fucking no, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not the only one that thought that.
It's like, oh, well, apparently they think LeVar Burton's comfortable in this position. But, I mean,
What was
strapped
the
down.
line that Jordy said? We died laughing. He's like scanning.
Oh, no trilithium over here at all.
No sign of trilithium
signs of
over
any
here. As he's just
trilithium
like,
over
he's
here.
not even scanning stuff. He's lifting stuff up and like putting
Yeah.
it back down. Like he's looking in
No
like the
sign at all.
yeah, it's like he's looking in cabinets. Like, nope, not here. Like they're looking for car keys.
Yep.
And meanwhile, Data is remembering 7-year-old jokes.
About
Which is
orangutans.
again, it's all these deep cuts into the series, and it's like
So that would have paid off had you watched.
Encounter at Farpoint.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
And remembered that one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I'm not even sure that was in the episode, but he mentions Farpoint, and it's like, oh, that's the first episode.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this. The self-referential stuff is stuff that Star Trek didn't really do. I mean, Khan was a huge reference, but it didn't rely on. Did you remember Space Seed?
Well, yeah, it didn't wink at you.
Yeah,
Like
it didn't
this
look
movie
at the
does.
camera. It's like,
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
with Khan too, that was the purpose of the movie. It wasn't just
Right.
Khan was there for
for
5 minutes for a
for
reference,
an
and then
yeah, for
he
a
was
reference.
out.
That's exactly right. And so, yeah, it's like it's almost like the writers, because they were all the series Next Generation writers, were like just smelling their own farts for like 2 hours.
And it knocked him out.
Yeah, and then a gorilla came in and finished the screenplay.
Yeah.
He put on his glasses like, I don't know how to fix this, so I'll just bang out something real quick.
That one lady Klingon, one Dura sisters, she was in the Most Valuable Primate movies.
That's right. They
so
brought in the most,
they brought in the Most Valuable Primate to finish the script because they had an in with him.
yeah.
And that's
He's
how
the-
that's how she ultimately got in the script, is because she
That was
had
the payment.
That
Yeah.
she had the primate writer in.
Yeah, exactly. So
We've cracked the code.
we cracked the code. Generations is written by a gorilla. But
Chimp. It was a chimp.
okay, chimp. But not
You're
an
the most valuable primate now, Jason.
It was a chimp, but not one of the real smart ones. Just kind of the average one, you know. It's not Roddy McDowell out there writing down.
Roddy McDowell.
So, so then, right. So like then they send him back.
Right.
Right.
Who did they send back? They sent Geordi
back.
Yeah.
They
And it's
switched Geordi for Picard so Picard can go down and talk.
Oh my
to
God,
McDowell.
that was the dumbest
I
thing
definitely
ever.
just tuned this part out.
Okay,
I
so
think I was glazed over.
all
for a
right, so
good
here's
20
the deal.
minutes here.
Soren's on Viridian 3. He's going to shoot a rocket that's going to instantly blow up the sun. By the way, that's not how anything works. Science does not exist in this movie.
Instantly blow up the sun.
It did.
I know.
And then it instantly got dark. Like they just turned off the lights on that planet. It's like that's not how science works. There's such a thing as spatial time.
You're gonna have yeah.
There's going to be a couple light years
Yeah.
there before it got dark, right?
It's almost like
Light minutes.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
you
it's
know what
almost
I
like
mean.
that sun was just down the street.
yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like
It's like a lamppost.
It's almost like Viridian 3. Yeah, Viridian 3 was flat and that sun was just in the firmament
Yeah.
there and it just knocked it out. Yeah, there it is. Nighttime.
So they're a bunch of flat earthers that
Yep.
wrote this movie.
It was like in Columbus.
This was written by flat earthers.
It's about 3 hours of drive.
Right. So then, so yeah, Soren's on the planet, and he's gonna blow up the sun to bring the space ribbon, the Skittles rainbow to him, so he can go into the Nexus, which we find out from Whoopi Goldberg is like the place where all your dreams come true, and it's
It's
like
heaven or whatever.
basically, and it's like, okay, this is a great concept for an episode. It does not fly for a movie.
no.
A movie needs to be not this. Like you can have an hour-long episode of Star Trek talk about a magical place that you can go to and get all of your dreams fulfilled. Doesn't work for a movie.
Did I also glaze over during the explanation?
for
of
Willy Wonka.
Why McDowell wanted to go back so badly? Did he say?
Well, you become obsessed with it.
Yeah, but I mean, it could have given him some emotional weight. It could have had like a dead kid or something.
No, his whole exposition was told by Gonzo when she told Picard, if you go there, you'll never want to come back.
You'll never. Yeah, it takes
that's
years for
all
you
of
to
the
recover
information
from
we
it.
get from why McDowell wants to go
But
back
she
there.
says that she doesn't want to remember it. She's like, it was
She's
terrible.
trying to forget it. No, not because it's terrible.
because
the
it's
withdrawal.
So seductive.
Yes.
She
The
wants-
withdrawal is-
she'll want to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
So
That's the way I read it anyway.
I think
Yeah.
that's probably right. Yeah.
Yeah, so Soren's on the planet. He's going to blow up the sun to bring the Skittles rainbow to him so he can go into heaven again. And Geordi is on the Klingon ship, to which Soren says before he beamed down to the planet, "You've got this guy. I'll give him his sight back, and wink, wink, you can do something with this."
Right.
He basically lays out the plan that they should give him back. But no, they play fucking coy and say, "Well, what do we get out of this?" And then, and like Data is like, "Well, it's kind of my fault he was captured, so I'll go and be their prisoner." And Picard like fucking straight arms Data and is like, "No, I'll be your prisoner." I'm making this movie more exciting in my head.
Straight arms.
I'll be your prisoner, but first you're going to send me down
Down there
to-
because I got to talk to Soren. He owes me $50.
Yeah.
He said he'd give me $50 if I took him back to that the space station. And then he left anyway, and I still owe him $50.
Well,
Or
the
he
whole
still
thing
owes
with
me-
Geordi being strapped to the chair or whatever on the Klingon ship, like that whole path, whatever you want to call it, was so dumb because when you first see him, Soren is like, "Tell me everything you know about trilithium," and then the scene ends, and when you come back to him, he's being given back with a camera in his visor, like,
and then he instantly goes back to duty.
yeah.
He does say that we didn't get anything out of him.
He says his
kinda
heart
wrap it
wasn't
up-
in it, almost as if he killed him.
Yeah.
This movie is a lot of duty.
I mean, outside of the camera and the visor, there was no reason to have any of that interaction with Geordi on the.
Again, it's a
Klingon
room
ship.
of
Yeah,
writers figuring out plot
McDowell
holes.
already knows what he needs to do. Getting more information on trilithium doesn't help him. It's a string that doesn't mean anything other than driving the plot forward. That isn't a plot.
Did they actually drop him off on the planet? Do they even
Yeah.
see that?
No, but that's where because
He's just there
because
all of a
Picard
They're
because
all,
they get
they're
hailed,
all in orbit.
they
That's
hail
when they have the big
and it's
fight
like, hey,
from
bring
Star
it,
Trek
give us
6.
back our give us back our engineer, and they're like, no,
Can
and they're
I-
like, well,
Can I
I'll
tell
be
you
your
how
prisoner.
awesome I think it is that the entire vulnerability of the flagship of the Enterprise is on every poster.
Yes,
In the, it's on the HR posters, like the workplace information posters.
it's like this is the one thing you never give to anybody,
It just happens to be just plastered there.
right?
It's like, oh, cool. That's exactly what we need to be able to
Yeah,
fucking
so-
destroy the Enterprise. Perfect.
Yeah, well, because they need this.
This is exactly what you need to say to start the
It's
auto self-destruct
right.
sequence.
It's right next to the Starfleet minimum wage. Yeah.
The OSHA.
Se-
The OSHA.
seven
OSHA
seven
poster,
space
yeah.
bucks is the minimum.
If you're not making this much money, you need to file a complaint. Also, this is how you destroy the Enterprise. At this frequency, your torpedoes, boom, good.
Okay, we're going to talk about that. Here
And if you're not going to blow up the Enterprise, here's your short-term disability paperwork.
Look for your Cobra paperwork in the mail.
They call up the Klingons and they're like, "Hey, give us back our guy," and they're like, "No," and they're like, and I'm like, and they're like, "Well, give us a trade," and I'm like, "But why?" Soren just said that he will. Yeah. So they say, okay. Picard says, "I'll be your prisoner."
Jeff's caught in the Nexus.
But first you got to send me down so I can talk to Soren. He owes me $50. And the Klingon ladies are like, well, he is more valuable, while not turning off the transmission. It's like, yeah, we can probably do stuff to him. We can probably, like, I don't know, tie him down shirtless to a slab. And they're like, yeah, so go ahead and talk to these guys. I know you're not planning any kind of subterfuge here. You're probably good. So they beam him down, they beam Geordi back. And of course there's a joke that, of course, it's like they see the first thing they see through his visor is Dr. Crusher, and like, she's ugly, as they have like all fucked up faces and stuff.
So dumb. So dumb.
And then
I always find it funny too. Sorry to interrupt. Like when Geordi got transported back, he's standing up and then collapses after he's been transported back. Like, how was he standing up?
They
to
must
be
have started the beam.
over?
They started the beam and then they just put him in there. And they're like, "Well, that's their problem now." It's like when you puke on yourself after a really raucous, like New Year's Eve party, and somebody throws you in the shower, and it's like, "What's the shower's problem?"
I mean, it was ridiculous because he's basically unconscious. So how was he standing up?
So then he instantly goes back to work, and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm back. What's up, everybody? Never mind that stress I just went through. Everything's good. Everything's cool." And they're like, "Right there. We just saw what he saw, which is the OSHA poster that says, that they get paid $7 an hour, and they have a frequency that we have to set our torpedoes to." Now, that's a problem. Torpedoes are physical objects. Phasers have frequencies. Torpedoes are physical objects that just blow shit up. It's
I caught that too.
Yeah, it would be like saying, "Hey, set that mortar to this specific tone."
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
You've never heard of singing mortars before?
Say what?
Singing mortars.
Now, I could,
Is that something from Worms?
I could
Armageddon?
maybe buy it. I could maybe buy it if they're able to get the torpedo to a specific velocity, so that it could then actually get in between like the flickering of the frequency.
Right, because you would think a frequency would be something that would flicker.
Right.
So, yeah.
So maybe that's kind of what they're going for. But yes, you're right. It makes far more sense with phasers than it does with a torpedo.
Yeah, but it's like, oh, shit, we don't have that special effects. Make it torpedoes. So, yeah, they blow up the Enterprise. Movie's over. End of Star Trek. Trekkation's canceled.
Well, I do think that Ken is right. The scene with the when they do the saucer separation, which is always a big deal.
Yeah.
In Next Generation, when they do the saucer separation, but then the saucer is also fucked and has to crash land on the planet.
Because the
cool.
explosion of the primary hole or the secondary hole, it creates a shockwave that sends them into the planet.
Yeah. Which is kind of neat. I mean, it's not the greatest effect, but
it is a good miniature.
Yeah, and it's
as
cool.
It's plowing through
and it's
the
cool to
forest.
imagine. Wow, it gives you a sense of how big the Enterprise is.
Yeah.
And I always like that when you kind of really understand scale in these Star Trek movies. So anyway, I agree, Ken. That's a kind of a cool scene, but that's about it. That's all.
There is one other kind of cool moment. It's like, oh, okay, so all right, we'll get to that cool moment here because we got other shit to deal with first. Picard fails because he is no Jim Kirk. Picard's not as good at punching things. As
he actually gets his ass handed to him.
He
pretty
does,
badly.
and he gets knocked off of a rock, or he gets headbutted multiple times off a cliff. Which at that point, if he would have exploded on top of that, it's like, yeah, that's probably that would sum things up. That's how bad he failed. So he fails. The planet gets destroyed by the Skittles rainbow, and he gets sucked into the Nexus. And he realizes very quickly because Whoopi Goldberg is hanging out there in his living room
on a carousel.
Is on a carousel. Yeah, you notice that she's standing next to the unicorn. I was like, oh, she is kind of that type of a character.
I didn't notice.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, she's just riding their living room carousel.
So she's in the Nexus now too, right? So
Not really.
But
she's a projection of herself, an
But
echo.
But should
of
everybody be in the Nexus? Because the Nexus, the ribbon came through.
Only
Yes.
So everyone should be in the Nexus.
Everyone should be there.
Right. They could have done something cool with that,
No.
but they didn't.
No.
Nope.
No.
some people just died and exploded, though.
I thought that ribbon took them all and would have
Should've.
taken them all into the Nexus.
Well,
Should've.
then everyone would have been in the Nexus in
Well,
the first place.
I thought
the first
the
time
ship
it happened.
and Picard and Soren were on two completely different planets.
Were they?
Oh, that's
It
a
might
good
be.
point.
They might be.
Yeah, that's a good point because it's possible that
I think you're right.
it's very
They're on
possible
different
that Viridian 3 is where Picard, Kirk, and Soren are, Viridian 4 is where the Enterprise crashed.
Where
Yeah,
the
so technically
where
everyone on
mining
the
colony
Enterprise
area
was
is,
killed
whatever-
during
yeah.
that. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
they
I didn't
died
think they
because
got-
the sun exploded, not because of
The ribbon,
pulling
the
to
ribbon
the
only
nexus.
cut through
Right.
Viridian
All right.
3.
That was
Right.
probably
Yeah.
more clear in the movie than I realized. Yeah.
No.
No.
I thought they were on a different planet too.
Okay, well, fair enough.
yeah.
But no, because I was thinking about that. It's like, yeah, they're plowing through that forest, like in the Enterprise.
Because that's how I thought Guinan was actually in the Nexus.
No,
because it would make sense.
Once you're in the Nexus, you're always part of the Nexus. You can take yourself out, but a part of your soul remains. Is what I always
so
thought.
That's weird.
So, like,
there is
technically-
an echo of
herself.
Picard in the Nexus right now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So technically, you could go back. Like the next captain could go and like get Picard and Kirk and probably Whoopi Goldberg, and they could go and like
Gonzo.
fucking save some planets.
So they could go back to the Nexus.
Well, they'd have to catch a wave. That
They got to ride the wave
into, a
into
sun.
the Nexus.
They can't just go back.
In
otherwise-
another 18 or 42 years.
But
or however
anybody
long
could
it
go to
takes.
the Nexus.
if they have a rocket to blow up a
Right.
sun. And,
So I
yeah.
don't understand this echo thing.
She was already there once.
So she's always in the
Yes.
Nexus.
Yes,
That part of her.
part of
Yes.
her is always
Does she
there.
know that she's always in the Nexus?
Apparently, she explained it to us. I think
but
she
she,
was
o-
just
but she,
sleeping
but she
or something.
only did as her echo, not as Guinan.
But she says, "No, I'm there, and I'm here. I'm an echo of myself here
And
forever."
didn't
or something
Guinan,
like
that's
that.
Like
not
I
in the
said-
Nexus, say she never wanted to go
Well,
back?
like I said, the
But the
entire
echo is
third
still
act
there.
of
It's still
this
there.
movie is contrivance upon contrivance.
Yeah. So Kirk is chopping wood and cooking eggs.
Burning eggs.
Weird eggs.
Weird giant nerd eggs because they look like those giant
Do you
crunchy
smell
nerds.
something burning?
Yeah, because he also chops his foot off when he misses when he realizes that he smells something. He's like, "Oh, my foot's off, isn't it?"
But it's the Nexus, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
It just reappears. So they go in, and it's like Kirk's hanging out with his lady. It's the day he tells her he's going back to Starfleet, and apparently telling her to get lost. Because it's like, apparently that was the end of their relationship.
Well, yeah. If he goes, she won't stay. Is basically the
Yeah.
way I read it. Yeah.
And then he goes up to her room. This is the one true funny comedy edit in this movie.
Not true. Well, edit maybe. Okay.
Because Kirk goes upstairs with breakfast in bed for Antonia, his girlfriend at the time. And he goes in, he's like, I'm going to do everything right this time. He goes into the bedroom, shuts the door. It smash cuts to Picard walking up the stairs, like with this resolute look on his face. Like, I'm getting in there. I'm bringing him out. Yeah. It's like, I don't care if he's butt-ass
I don't care
naked.
what's going on in
they
there.
could be screwing, and I'm getting them.
I'm getting that. Yeah. So, yeah, but it turns out that like the Nexus is playing tricks. It takes Kirk and Picard to Kirk's uncle's farm in Idaho. That's right.
I thought it was weird that it was Idaho too.
Not Iowa.
and
Well,
not
but
Iowa,
who knows? That might have been a fuck up from Next Generation
Could have
writers.
been, yeah.
It could have been.
It could have been.
So he goes.
This whole movie is a fuck up for Next Generation writers.
It is. It gets better from here. I promise, Chuck.
This movie?
No.
This episode?
No. So he tells Kirk, it's like, hey, I need you to help me punch a guy out. And Kirk's like,
Hey, Kirk, there's some important stuff happening in space.
hey, if Spock was here, he'd probably tell me I was being illogical, but it
If
sounds
I'm
like
being
fun.
logical, then it sounds like fun. Let's go do this.
Let's go fuck up this guy.
They do kind of whisper a little bit.
Yeah, let's go fuck up this guy. I do also like that Kirk's horse, like, kind of like,
The little sachet over.
little sachet
the little
over.
That's why I
sidestep,
said,
yeah.
you want to make out? It
Yeah.
looked like a...
like those horses were like, hey, bud, what's up? Hey, how's it going? Let me get over
Yeah.
there and
I
talk to
think
you.
that might have actually been one of his actual show horses.
It might have been. I have a feeling that that William Shatner heavily influenced the scene.
Oh,
No, for
fuck
sure.
yeah, he did.
Because
Absolutely.
he is such a, like, there is nothing that William Shatner loves more than equestrianism. And yeah, I have a feeling he's like, I'll do this, but you better put my fat ass on a horse.
Yeah, I'm going to be on a horse.
Yeah. And I'm going to jump some shit. I'm going to
Twice.
jump it.
twice and realize I'm not scared, and that's how I know something's wrong, and let's go beat that guy up. And then they go and beat that guy up or try to.
Yeah, they try to beat the guy up, and they do okay because there's two of them, but it's three old guys fighting. It's like
Three old guys lazily or like walking over rocks and stuff. Like, why did you put these poor old men on this terrain? One of them is going to break a fucking ankle.
One
You're right.
misstep.
One misstep and the hip is gone.
I hope
Yeah.
that's just.
He shattered his hip.
I hope there's just tons of mattresses out of frame that we don't see below them.
There's probably
it's
one
a
in
mattress
frame
warehouse
somewhere.
down there.
Warehouse.
So eventually what ends up happening is that Kirk decides he really wants to punch the bad guy, and he sends Picard off to deal with the wussy part of the mission, which is to shut down the missile. And so Kirk dies in the dumbest way that you could kill the greatest hero of Star Trek history. Most of the time you would say, a captain should die on the bridge. And these fuckers who wrote this movie were like, yeah, we've got a bridge over there. Let's just launch him off of that shit and kill him.
The way he's holding onto the bridge and is hilarious.
Yeah, because it's totally not real. It's a dummy hanging on for life, like glued to that bridge.
Yeah.
Because it like flips and it's crazy. Yeah, and it's like, hey! Yeah, just like quartered.
But not
Yep.
nearly as funny as when Malcolm McDowell gets launched off of the.
Spoiler alert.
Yes, this is the best, funniest part of the whole movie. So Picard overheats or locks the clamps on the missile so it can't just shoot off. And so, but the missile is, I guess, timed to explode, which that makes no sense.
No, well, he might have reprogrammed it.
Maybe. So Malcolm McDowell's like, hey, get away from that. And Picard takes off running like a rabbit. Now, I'm thinking if I'm Soren, it's like, that seems odd. Why'd he take off like that?
Well, he was shooting at him with this cockeyed fucking gun.
Not that time, because he couldn't hit the missile. He just was holding the gun. It's like, get away from that. And then Picard's like,
Picard's all sneaky away.
Yeah, and then he runs off like fucking like I don't know, like a goon. And so he takes on, and Soren doesn't think anything of
He
it,
throws the rock at
He's
the...
like prancing.
like giggling.
Yeah, giggling. He like turns back and looks like.
And Soren walks up to the rocket and realizes, well, this ain't going nowhere. And then it explodes, and Soren gets launched off of the platform. And it's the funniest thing I've seen in a Star Trek movie ever.
It's pretty funny.
Jeff does love a good dummy.
Oh, God damn.
Yep.
Nothing beats Shocking Dark when that fucking head launched off that dummy. That's the best thing I've ever seen in my life. Woo! That's a deep cut from the
Yeah, it is.
from the archives of Film
It
Seizure.
sure is.
So, so then that
Movie's over.
That's it.
Cool.
They pick up the survivors from the crash.
The Enterprise is done, kaput.
Yeah, and Picard looks for his family treasured photo album.
What does he toss aside?
Finds the Curlin Ness car and just tosses that fucker to the side. He's the greatest possession of his life. Fuck that thing. Just give me my photos.
He learned that family was more important than whatever that thing was.
You don't know Captain Picard. Right?
I don't know either. I don't.
You don't. Yeah. Oh God, that's and then they leave on 3 ships that are not the Enterprise, and that's how you end your Star Trek movie. This movie sucks.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they ended a Star Trek movie with them on a bird of prey.
Yeah, but those movies were good.
I'm just saying. They've done it before.
Star Trek 3 and 4 are way better.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But it can't be that much of a demerit if they did.
No, but
And by the way,
well, the movie ended. That movie, Star Trek 3, ended with Spock coming back to life. This movie ended with 3 non-hero ships just zooming off like another day in Starfleet.
Well, he wasn't technically back to life yet. You don't see it. You just see the coffin, right?
No,
You don't
that
see-
Star Trek 3 is when they take him to
they
Mount
walk
Seleia.
down the steps and he,
Yeah, and he's like,
Oh,
Jim, your
oh.
name is Jim. And then everybody starts rushing him, touching him.
I'm
It's
thinking of
like,
the
"Get
end
away."
of Star Trek 2.
Yeah, Star Trek 2 ends with,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
with
Yes. Totes.
with some balls.
Balls.
Balls with a W.
What
know
about
it's-
the song Data sings in this movie? That's
Do it.
That's pretty
Do
funny.
it.
I don't know. I don't remember it.
It was. It
life
was.
forms? Do-do-do-do-do.
It was
Tiny
almost like
little life forms?
forms. Yeah. It was,
Where are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
are you?
That had me laughing.
Yeah.
like
I
a
thought that was
real,
pretty funny.
a real laugh.
Yeah, so let's talk about Data in this movie.
Forms.
So Data is almost unwatchable in this movie.
Yes.
Except for that scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's almost unwatchable. He's almost as unwatchable as Lore.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you were talking to me about Lore.
I
yeah.
do not like Lore.
Yeah, Lore is...
Lore is extra.
oh,
And Data is very extra in this movie.
yeah. Yeah, he is. No.
And for some reason, at the end, was able to cry tears.
Yeah, but they were really weird, like yellow, milky tears.
Yeah, he was peeing through his eyeballs.
Yeah.
It's
That's
probably
what that
taken off part of his makeup. That was,
Did
Yeah,
that too.
That's probably true, yeah.
Yeah, so this was one of those stories where it's like, ooh, Data needs emotions. And it's like, yeah, but that's
Does
not
he?
what the character is.
Yeah, but does he? Does he really? No.
He never takes that thing out of his head ever again.
I know.
It's just handled better.
It definitely is.
This
Yeah.
movie, okay, I'm not going to say that this movie, because again, the writers of some of the best episodes wrote this movie. So I'm not going to come down on them, especially like Ronald D. Moore, who like wrote like half of all the best episodes or
Bulk
whatever.
of the series, dude.
Huh?
Bulk of the series, dude.
Yeah.
Bulk of the series.
What are you doing, Jason?
Sorry, this is my Big Lebowski.
I thought you were doing a bit.
I was.
Okay.
It was Big Lebowski.
All right.
Cool.
Ken knew what I was talking about.
yep.
Yep.
So, yeah, so like, but this movie feels just rushed. That's really what this comes down to.
Rushed.
It feels
It's 2 hours
rushed, but
fucking long.
It
Yeah.
drags for. It feels
Right, well,
like
it
It feels
feels-
like 4 hours.
It
Yeah.
feels like an early draft, not a finished product. You know, like you feel like, well, this is the script we got. Well, we don't have any more time. You got to film it. You
Well,
know, and
at
it's
one
like,
point-
well, it could use like 3 or 4 or 5 or
Shatner's
6
only
more.
available this week. We have to do it now.
I remember thinking
We
that
have to do it at his
we were
ranch.
like getting close to it being probably within the last 20 minutes to go, and you paused it at one point, and I'm like, we've only seen the first hour.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, and you know, it
Yeah,
just
that was a sobering moment.
yeah.
Yeah.
well, and the thing is, it's like, yeah, it's like it doesn't feel like all these ideas are fully baked. You know, it's like you had too many ideas. You had not enough time to finalize a script. You probably were doing rewrites during the movie just because of whatever. You know, movies have things that happen like that. But it's like it just feels so disjointed that there's so many ideas and all of them could have been done better.
Things is a more cohesive movie.
I disagree.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I just had to get it in there. Sorry.
Okay. So, yeah.
So that's the movie.
Yeah, what's next?
Yeah, I mean, well, one of the things I was going to say about this movie is that I understand that you want to get this out and you want to do this while you're riding the wave of that series, and like it came to a conclusion, it went out on a high note. It was a well-liked series. Well, but it's like it feels like it's more part of that series than something more special.
Yeah.
Whereas like the one thing that the original series had again was that time away and that building of its own cultural footprint, you know, in terms of our, you know, media history.
The things it had that made it feel bigger were obviously Kirk, bookends with Kirk, and, you know, crashing the Enterprise. You know, that's
Who sure wasn't launching the dummy of Soren.
well, that ultimately ended up being the
He was
the real
totally
crown jewel of
Soren.
the film. He was Soren, all right. Yep. but those two things are not enough.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And it was especially disappointing being 6 months after the series, and the series ending with all good things and
Yeah.
how great that ending was, and then you make this turd. Like,
Yeah, I think in the lead up to this movie, I think they released All Good Things on VHS. And it's like, oh, I'd really rather that be the movie than
Oh, yeah.
Generations. And I have a feeling that All Good Things was probably maybe that might have been a consideration for a movie, because it's like, you know, they never had Q in a movie, and yet here's, you know, and it's like the last episode bookending it with the first episode, the introduction and basically the finish of Q. It's like it almost feels like they really missed the opportunity to switch it around, put Generations as the last episode and All Good Things as the first movie.
Yeah.
or
Could see
just
that.
not do Generations and make make First Contact the first movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that
Well,
would have
and
been
still-
a much better movie to start with. Than
Well, and the
Generations.
other thing is like, did they even need to have Kirk in this movie?
I
No.
don't think so.
No.
No. Everything Kirk did very easily could have been done by Riker, could have been done by any other character. There's no need to, again, it's that idea that there's a lot of stuff in here that just is like shoehorned in, and William Shatner is the biggest thing shoehorned, well, obviously, but he's, you know, like that's, it doesn't work. You know, it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I noticed too in this one with Kirk, like, and I think it kind of goes along with your point of him being kind of shoehorned into this, is like in the show and in the movies, the originals, Kirk just like had this presence and had this just like smoothness and way of talking, and in Generations it just felt like nothing that he was saying was just like authentic in any way, and like he
doesn't feel like
didn't
himself.
really give a shit, you know?
Right. Like, I would say almost that he is phoning it in, but I'm not so sure. Like, that first scene, he's just so dull, and he's so, like, he has no life to him. Like, he does have some life when you see him, like, you know, at his ranch house or whatever, and he's like, oh, wait, I'm forgetting something. And then the toast pop, and he's like, ah. You know, and it's like, he's showing something. He's being, at the very least, he's being William Shatner. Whatever that is at the beginning of this movie is not either William Shatner or Captain Kirk.
Well, and I think that's almost to Picard's detriment, because Picard isn't very interesting in this movie.
No, because he's just sad and depressed the whole time.
And when Kirk is sort of full of life, and you know, you got kind of that Shatner whimsy happening when they're in the Nexus together, you kind of start to think, man, I want another Kirk movie.
right.
Right?
Get these next generation
I
people out of here.
don't want to see
Well-
a Picard movie anymore, and that's not a good thing.
No, and because
Because they
had
weren't
to
going to make any more Kirk movies.
they had to shoehorn in so much stuff that this movie ultimately came down to it being a Picard, Kirk, and Data movie. There's almost nothing for Riker to do in this except for crash the Enterprise. Troy has
Get
the
thrown around the bridge.
yeah.
Yeah.
Troy has the conversation with that gets to the root of the matter with Picard. That's it, basically. Dr. Crusher is
Just
there.
gets pushed in the water. That's about her only
Right, that's
Yeah.
it.
contribution to this movie.
Worf falls in the water
Yeah.
and then almost takes a whole body to his head when the one guy gets launched from the back of the bridge. when
Why
they're
are we
crashing.
still talking about this?
Well, I just want to illustrate some of those finer details that are a real big problem when they all add up.
Right.
You know, Geordi is kidnapped. That's his thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And also, all right, Data, I'll help you, and I'll take this thing out of your head if it really messes you up. Oh, it's messing you up. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I hate that.
They
I hate
should have
that
been
so much.
interrupted quicker by Totally Soren,
Yeah.
and make that like the reason he didn't remove the chip. Like he was about to, but they got interrupted
Yep,
by a guy
totally.
shooting a goddamn phaser at him.
That's
But he-
that's
but
a
he- but he-
5-second fix.
But
Yes.
he acts like so fucking flabbergasted, like he doesn't know what to do. It's like, you know what to do. You said what you were gonna do.
Yeah.
So fucking do it.
And see, this is the one thing I was saying. It's like the reason why I like this the least out of all the movies, even less than 5, is that 5 feels like it didn't take itself super seriously.
Well, 5 has some heartwarming scenes in it too. This
truly
movie does
does.
not.
You're right. And this movie takes itself too seriously and just falls flat on its face. When you are goofing off and you fall on your face, that's great. It's fun. It's funny. When you're deadly serious and you fall on your face, it sucks. It's not good. It's not good.
Nemo.
Little Nemo is a better movie than this.
Nimoy declined to direct this movie. I don't blame him.
Yeah, and he declined to appear.
And they
He
never
declined
hired
everything.
another director. Like,
Right. Yeah. Shatner was like, "I'll step in."
It was just
they're
the
like-
journalist. They filmed from the journalist's eyes. The whole time.
Yeah, it's just not good, guys.
Nope. Next week's better though.
Yes.
Yep.
All right, let's start bringing this in for Space Doc here.
Crash landing.
Crash landed. Well, we crash landed in the very opening.
Saucer separation.
All right, so next week, Trekation continues with the crown jewel of the Next Generation films, First Contact. Got them Borgies. We got
Yeah.
Borgies. So that will be next Wednesday. You can check out all of our stuff at filmseizure.com. Every Wednesday is new episodes of Film Seizure. Every Monday is a new episode of Monster Mondays. I don't have my calendar, so I don't know what's. It's you see it.
It's something. It's
on the
something about a
website.
monster.
Yeah, it's something about a monster. It's on the website. You can see it in our little coming soon tile. And then you can do all of those things at your various favorite places to listen, like SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher,
YouTubes.
TuneIn, and what was that?
YouTube.
YouTube. Yeah, we also upload to YouTube. So yeah, there's lots of places. You can also find all that stuff on our website. Subscribe to us there. Do those things. Do the things. If you like what we do, you can go to ko-fi.com/Film Seizure. Buy us coffee. I like tea. I like Earl Grey. I want a cup of Earl Grey. It's just it's summer and it sucks and it's hot. It's too hot for Earl Grey.
Have you ever tried to make iced tea with Earl Grey?
I don't like iced tea.
You don't like iced tea?
I like hot tea.
Ooh. Hot tea's okay, but iced tea's the jam.
Do you like NWA?
What?
Never mind. Hip hop joke.
No, I was. What are you down with OPP?
I was just going to say it. You beat me. Good job.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Jason. I know.
You know me.
You know me.
I know me.
So
Holy shit. Let's end this episode.
So and then on Fridays you can go over to my website bmovieenema.com, check out a new article, and hey, we're only about 8 or 9 weeks away from season 2 of B Movie Enema the series.
Hell yeah.
So
Don't
get
forget.
over. Yep, September 11th. So go over to YouTube,
Forget.
find B Movie Enema, and subscribe, and do that sort of stuff. So Trekation kind of barely got out of Space Dock, but we're flying now.
It's like when you start a road trip and you immediately get a flat tire.
Yes.
That's what just happened with Generations.
Yeah.
But we're going to fix that fucker, and we're going to get a good day of cruising
Yes.
to our next destination.
Yep. First contact.
First contact.
Yes.
Make it so.
Oh, dang. Captain Shuttleworth telling us to make it so. So, until next week, I am Jeff Arbuckle, and Ken, I know you're going to be returning, so
Yep.
awesome. Yeah, with me as always, Chuck Moore. Jason, do your thing.
Yeah, this is awkward ending here.
Yeah, you know what? It's a lot like Star Trek Generations.
We just got another flat tire.
I'm Chuck Moore.
And I am Jason Oliver, and you have been listening to Film Seizure. Thank God we're done with that episode.
Hallelujah.